There's a huge problem looming on the horizon for X-Rank, and I'm not being overly dramatic. There is a systemic problem with how the divisions and matchmaking are set up, which can be potentially game-breaking for some players. I'm not going to waste any more time, so let's get to it. Some of you might be asking, why do I care? I'm low X-Rank, or I'm not even X-Rank at all, but the players at high level are the ones pushing the game to its limits and helping to demonstrate the true depth of the game to those outside of the community. Without these players, the series in general will be kept from expanding its reach, so anything that affects some of us affects all of us. The quick version is that high X-Power players in the Tenatech division have a hard time joining matches due to the lack of equally skilled players. The Takaroka division has latency issues because of players joining from other regions. The bad news is that these problems are directly related and feeding into each other. Given enough time, it will slowly eat away at the Tenatech division, causing fewer and fewer players to be in it, or create a huge gulf in skill between the divisions. The good news is, there might be a way to fix these problems. We need to establish what the root of the problem is in general. X-Rank is something that players only unlock after reaching S+ in a given season. So if you think about it, we're talking about a small number of people to begin with. As of the end of 2022, according to Nintendo's sales information, Splatoon 3 has sold 10.13 million units. That's pretty good for just over 3 months of sales. For as good as it is, it's not telling the whole story. So among those 10 million players, people are playing all the various modes in differing amounts. It's safe to assume that a majority of Splatoon 3 owners played the single player and Turf War. The number of people playing ranked mode is automatically going to be a minority of the player base. A lot of players just want to relax and they aren't looking to be stressed out about playing in a higher pressure mode. Just the wording of it can seem intimidating. This is also due to the fact that ranked battles aren't unlocked until after reaching level 10. But once we focus in on the players that are playing ranked modes, how many of them got to S+? One would assume a small fraction of the fraction even playing ranked modes. Now we have to split the players in X rank across varying skill levels. So by the time someone gets a high X rank, they're in a pool of players that is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of that 10 million players. And each time we break the player base into another group, it's even smaller than the last. Right off the bat, X rank is a small number of players, and the higher you go, the less players there are to be matched with. So if you're trying to get a high X rank, eventually you might be in a situation where you can't find many other players to play against. Here's the first issue we're running into with X rank divisions. There are uneven amounts of good players in each division. I'm going to make something very clear right now. It's not that there aren't good players in both divisions, but here's a statistic to chew on. We know that Splatoon 3 sold 10 million units in the first 3 months, but it sold 3.45 million units in the first 3 days in Japan alone. It's very unlikely that the game stopped selling in Japan, so we have to assume that Japanese players make up a very high volume compared to other regions, given that Japan has 1/3 of the sales for the year in 3 days. More players also means more good players. The ratio doesn't matter here, it's all about raw numbers. The more people there are, the easier it is to find a match. So we have a situation where the Americas and Europe are in a division with presumably less players, or at the least, less dedicated players, the ones who are pushing for higher and higher X ranks. Given that the Takaroka division has so many people playing the game in a small region, it means there are more opportunities for them to get better together. So again, it's not that all players in Japan are better than other regions, but more people playing together makes for a higher skill ceiling on the division. They can learn from each other faster with more better players playing together. So this creates an incentive to play in the Takaroka division, right? If you're really good at the game, you want to play with the best players. So far, everything makes sense. The higher player base makes for a more competitive environment. It also makes it so that if your X rank is very high, you'll still be able to find matches relatively quickly. Well, that solves things. All players have to do is change their division next season, and all the problems will be solved. Yeah, right. Of course this causes more problems. The divisions are designed to be geographically balanced to provide the best connections possible. more divisions improves latency and connections in general, but this would split the player base even more. So from that perspective, 2 divisions seems okay. 2 divisions to serve the 2 halves of the world. But the divisions are meant for players who are geographically close by to play with each other. If players are far away, it's going to cause latency issues. I've heard some people say that Nintendo needs to fix their online, but that's honestly an absurd thing to say in this case. The issue caused by players joining the other region's division is a physics and computational problem, not a programming problem. I've done some research and found that on a hardwired connection, the east coast of the US to Japan typically has around 170 to 180 milliseconds of latency. That's for a round trip. So if I shoot in Splatoon, it will take 170 milliseconds for me to know if I actually hit my target. That's a long time, 10 frames to be precise. For some of you, this seems obviously catastrophic. If you don't already understand why this is a huge problem, let me paint a picture to convince you. Player A is hosting. Player B and C are both fighting. Player A and B are in the same region, while Player C is in another region. Each frame, data is being sent to Player A. So if Player B and C start shooting at the exact same time, Player B wins. The host and low latency clients have relatively the same data to work with. The inputs are sent to Player A, but at a much faster speed for Player B. So while it only took 1 frame for the host to receive the input from Player B, it took 5 frames for Player C's input to register. In the meantime, Player C already got hit according to the host, which means that if both players continue the same input, Player B automatically wins. This can work the other way too. If Player C moved the frame that Player B started shooting, that information wouldn't get to the host until after the hit already registered. This is because the state of the game, according to the host, didn't have time to account for Player C's movement prior to the shot being fired from Player B. Now, even though Player B thinks they already got 1 hit on the target, the game state might have updated with new information that Player C moved prior to getting hit. What you end up with is a mess of a match. Rather than good gameplay being the determining factor of who wins, it turns into a guessing game. Trying to predict what a player will do is equally important as being mechanically skilled. This is true in all matches, but high latency makes the prediction aspect almost more important. So as you can see, that amount of latency can almost turn matches into a dice roll. If you're at half health before you even know it, chances are you'll be splatted before you can counterattack or dodge. It's not as if it's only a detriment to the faraway players. That depends on who is hosting the match. If a player from outside the division's region is hosting the match, that creates latency for players within that division's region. When fighting each other, the latency would be doubled since they're both sending and receiving data with that same high latency. So now, the solution to players having better luck with matchmaking in the other division has created a new problem for them and everyone else. As more players move from Tenatek to Takaroka, it leaves even less highly skilled players in that division. The problem gets even worse when trying to find a match, which makes more players switch divisions. Then there are even more players in Takaroka that are causing latency issues. So now it's finally time to move on to solutions, and the outlook isn't very rosy. We'll start with things Nintendo could do, since I hear people saying that they need to quote-unquote fix the game. Dedicated servers is something I hear brought up a lot. This could potentially even the latency out, but it wouldn't fix it. If you have a dedicated server in a particular region, the latency will be higher for all players in that region. It wouldn't be by much, but for top level players, they would likely notice an extra frame of latency. This does bring the benefit of protecting the connection speed for players within a division's region. There would never be the case of someone far away hosting the match. That still doesn't completely fix the problem. Instead of many players with high latency, there could still be 1 or more players with high latency, which is hard to combat. So this doesn't really fix things. Nintendo could lock players to the region's division. This would definitely be an easier change to implement, but it's not going to solve the problem for everyone. Sure, it helps to solve the latency issues some players are experiencing, but it does nothing for the long wait for matches. It could help to relieve the problem slightly by forcing the good players to stay in their division, but it would be at the expense of their enjoyment of the game. If they can't push for a high ranking in the most competitive environment, what's the use of playing? Or how about they combine the divisions into one? Again, this only solves one problem. Now everyone is having latency issues for the sake of making sure people can find matches at all levels of X rank. This is the Splatoon 1 approach, but they decided this was the wrong approach. I understand why the change to regions is appealing because it does make the experience better for 99% of players, but neglecting the most dedicated players seems a bit folly. This one definitely has potential, but it's not without drawbacks. This might be the best one so far in terms of preserving low latency for most players, while also not requiring massive changes on the server side. Player location is checked before deciding the host of the match. If you're joining a match in the other region's division, you never host. The latency problems still aren't completely fixed, but it does at least give an advantage to the players in that region. It has some of the problems of the dedicated server solution, but to a lesser degree given the direct connections. The players of the region would always have the advantage, which doesn't really solve all the issues either. It's almost like punishing people for playing in another region. That might seem fine on paper, but they aren't doing it out of malice. They're trying to enjoy the game more by playing in the other division. This is the best solution so far, but not perfect. The last option is for the matchmaking to be less strict. What I mean is that if a player waits the 3 minutes for a match without finding one, they're put into a match with lower ranked players. This isn't ideal either since it's a team game. If you get a bad team composition or your teammates just aren't playing their best, a loss results in a massive X-power decrease. And on the other hand, if the player is running circles around the opposing team, it's not going to be much fun for anyone. The player looking for a challenge didn't find it, while the opposing team gets crushed, which is never fun. So again, not ideal. But the best option would probably be a combination of things. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. For most players, the current system is fine, but to make the system more robust, the following changes would have to be made together. Rather than allowing players to pick a division, it should be by location. Now before you make an angry comment, I have more to say. This keeps players from picking divisions that would cause unnecessary latency. Then, in the case of players getting into a rank where they can't find a match, all bets are off. Divisions go out the window, and you automatically get placed into a match with players of equal rank regardless of division. So the priority would be to keep the latency low, but it's a priority rather than a hard and fast rule. The ultimate problem with the current system is a lack of players for the Tenatech division, and it's very clear to see that now. If high X-rank players change divisions just to be able to get into a match, it means there aren't enough high-ranked players in their division. If there aren't enough high-ranked players, it means there aren't enough players in general. Changing servers is only a bandage with the purpose of getting into a larger pool of players. Again, this doesn't fix anything because it creates a new problem. So for starters, it's probably best not to change divisions, but I understand how some players can feel stuck or left behind in the current setup. If we need more players to fix the problem, then that leaves it up to people like you and me to do our best to make it seem like an inviting community and to introduce new players to the game. I know this is almost sounding like a religion or that we're doing Nintendo's job, but I really mean it. Even at over 10 million people owning the game, there are still many more people who own a Switch and don't have the game. There are even more people who play games and don't have a Switch at all. Whatever issue they might have with the game, try to explain it away. The more people playing, the better. So even if it doesn't fix the problem with X-Rank right now, at least more players will adopt the game and hopefully these growing pains will be in the past. So there you have it, a way Nintendo could fix the problem without breaking things for everyone, and a long-term solution which can solve all the problems. Thanks for watching, let me know what you think in the comments, like and subscribe if you want, and as always, good luck, and good splatting.